Hello and welcome back to the Team Darling Football Shirt channel and to what I hope will become a weekly video series that I have imaginatively titled This Week in Football Shirts. So what do I have in store this week? First up, we have a collection update. No new shirts have been purchased this week, therefore the collection counter remains at 335. However, there has been some work on the collection this week, and we start with this, a little bit of heat press action. Enjoy. Okay, so what we've got today is a West Ham shirt that I'm going to just do a little bit of printing on. I'll show the shirt here. This is the West Ham shirt in question, West Ham away shirt with Declan Rice on the back. As you can see, it's already got his name and number printed. But what we're going to do is add on some sleeve patches. So if you come around here, you'll see that we've got the Premier League, No Room for Racism, and the sleeve sponsor patch. So of course the competition patches go on the right arm and the sponsors, as you can see from this one, go on the left arm. To facilitate the printing, we have got a few bits and pieces. Now, obviously, over here we've got the trusty heat press. So the heat press I use is a UK press. Got it off eBay, secondhand, and it's does the job perfectly. Most printing patches, name sets will have a set of instructions and how you apply them. So that will be to do with pressure and temperature. I tend to do most of my printing at 140, and the way this particular heat press works is that it will heat it to just over 140 so that it can keep the plate temperature at 140. 150 is the temperature where the fabric on football shirts starts to burn. So what you get at 150, if you have a heat press that's set too high, it will start to mark the material. And once you've marked the material, essentially sort of melting it. Once you've done that, it's there forever. So I do my printing at 140 for the most part. Aside from the print press, you can see from the print press itself, I've got a Teflon sheet that is taped to it. That stays there all the time. It's pretty hot. And we have a collection of Teflon cushions, which I use. This one, the large one, I use if I'm printing a name set on the back. So won't need that today. And then I've got a couple of smaller ones, which I use for sleeve patches. This one, and then we've got a slightly longer one, which I sort of feed in through the sleeve. Normally use this one, to be perfectly honest. So what we'll do is we'll get the shirt down and I'll get the patches measured up. In my little drawer of stuff here, we've got some heat resistant tape. So the heat press tape will hold the patches in place once I've identified where I want to put them. And then we'll get it in the press and get the patches applied. See you shortly. Okay, so the patches are now placed on the arm and they're taped in position. You can see from down here that the Teflon cushion is inside the arm as well, ready to go. I've taped on the sponsor on the other side as well, but that is taped and ready to go. The glory of the tape is that once you've taped everything on, of course, you can move the shirt around without losing the position. I apologise, the sound you're hearing at the moment, potentially in the background, is my cat, who is wearing the cone of shame after once again fighting. So say hello to the internet, Marvin. Okay, so next stage is to get the shirt into the press and get the patches stuck down. So let's move it over. Okay, so that's the shirt on the press now. You can hear it clicking in the background. That is the press just maintaining temperature, so it's turning the heat on and off. I didn't mention earlier the positioning of the patches. What I tend to use is the rule of three. So with name sets on the reverse, I normally space the name set about 6 centimeters down from the lower part of the collar. For sleeve patches and sponsors, I usually place the sponsors either 3 centimeters away from the bottom of the cuff or from the top of the cuff, depending on what it is that's going on the sleeve. On the opposite side of this shirt, on the other arm, I've done the sponsor 3 centimeters away from the top of the cuff because it's the only thing on the arm. Of course, on here, we need to fit 2 patches on, so I've gone 3 centimeters away from the bottom of the cuff. It just keeps things fairly uniform across my collection anyway. Ultimately, with sleeve patches, the positioning is a little bit up for debate as long as you're happy with it. And in general, get it centralized and straight, it's going to look fine. So we'll get this pressed down now. So I'll get my ruler out of the way and we'll just get this shirt in position. As you can see, this is not the optimum setup for pressing using the counter in the dining room. When I move house, I will have a bit more space to do this, but it hasn't turned me too far wrong so far. So it's in the press and ready to go. I've got another Teflon sheet that I'll place over the top, and then we will put the press down. It'll be 15 seconds and it will count down and beep when it's done. Just making sure that that the shirt is well protected. 2 sheets of Teflon might be overkill, but it means doubly sure that the hot plate of the press doesn't contact the shirt. There's the beeping. Let's take that out and we'll give it a peel in a second. Okay, so that's the shirt off the press. Most patches will have instructions whether they're cold peel, hot peel, cool peel. Most I find if you give them a few seconds to cool down, then give it a bit of a peel, they'll be okay. If they don't come off first time, let them cool for a bit longer. And only really in dire circumstances have I ever put them back on the press. But you know, we'll see how these come off. They should be completely fine. You'll see the tape will come off with them. And that is a pretty satisfactory peel that we've got there. You'll notice that what you'll see sometimes after you've done a bit of printing is you'll get some marks around where the tape has gone. They will press out. So what I will do is I'll quickly put this back under the press. I'll cover it in Teflon again. I'll put the cushion inside and I'll just give it a quick press and those lines will disappear. So it just makes it look a bit more tidy. As you can see, I've just put it back under the press for 5 seconds and it's removed the crease marks where the tape and the plastic backing of the patches were. So now it looks lovely. I'll just press the sponsor on and then we'll have a look at the finished product. So that is the pressing of the shirt complete. So we'll have a quick look at our final product. And here it is. That is the Premier League patch and No Room for Racism patch on one side. And then on the other side, we've got our sleeve sponsor, all pressed on. All marks have been removed, like I said. You do get a few creases and marks from the tape and the plastic backing, but a quick press, 5 seconds, gets rid of that. These kind of patches with loads of tiny little letters can be a little bit nerve-wracking because once you start peeling off, you're just waiting for the tiny little bits of transfer to come back up with the backing. But it was all plain sailing, so this is another shirt that I can put back into the collection, fully patched, name set complete, job done. I hope you all enjoyed that. Having a heat press has been quite a fun hobby for me, it turns out. It's a very satisfying thing to do and really does give you the freedom to customize your own collection. If you do have any questions about the heat press, please do get in touch, whether that be hints and tips or what heat press to buy. It can seem like something that's very confronting to begin with, but like everything really, practice does make perfect. I also do offer my services to print shirts for people that don't have access to a heat press for a few quid. So if you do have any printing that you'd like me to potentially do, then also get in touch. Now, there has been some progress on moving the collection out of the shirt room here and getting it packed up ready to move house. If I just pan up you can see behind me that we now have a rack purely of coat hangers, the absence of shirts there. We started packing them away. The plan is eventually to empty these wardrobes here, which I'll just pan around to. So those wardrobes there have a mix of clothes and football shirts in. The plan is to empty them out, take them down and give the wall some paint before we move house, because it could do with a little bit of a touch up. In the meantime, please do enjoy this short video of an old man with a bad back putting some shirts into boxes. Okay, some shirt news for you now. This month saw the return to British football of Reebok as a manufacturer of football shirts, as they signed a new deal with Charlton Athletic. Of course, Reebok are synonymous with Bolton in the UK, the town where the brand was founded in the 1950s. Famously, they were the original sponsors of the new Bolton Stadium, which was built in 1997 to replace Burnden Park. The deal ended in 2014 after a new stadium sponsorship deal was agreed with Macron, who then went on to make the shirts for Bolton Wanderers. The stadium is now called the Tough Sheet Stadium. Remember to say that slowly. Reebok provided kits for several teams across Europe during the 90s and the early 2000s, but once the brand was purchased by Adidas in 2005, the brand began to disappear from football, with a lot of their deals being taken over by their new parent company. A famous example of this in England is with Liverpool. By 2012, only a handful of teams were using Reebok shirts around the world, including Bolton themselves, FC Köln in Germany, and CSKA Moscow. Bloemfontein Celtic in South Africa carried on using Reebok shirts until 2014, but beyond there, no major teams were using the now Adidas-owned brand. In 2022, Adidas sold the Reebok brand to an American brand management company, and the direction of the mark changed once again. In 2022, they signed a deal with Botafogo of Brazil, which marked their first return to the football stage in nearly a decade. This was followed in 2023 with a 3-year deal that would see Reebok supply shirts to the Panama men's, women's and futsal teams. Panamanian league sides Olympic Colón and Bambones have also been seen sporting Reebok branded gear. And that brings us to June 2025, where Charlton Athletic have announced a multi-year deal with the American-owned brand. Now, in classic timing, I decided that I would put together a concept design for what I thought a Reebok Charlton shirt could look like. And then they released the home shirt. Of course they did. And here it is. A bit of a 90s style garish design that you could maybe see a Reebok shirt of the past imitating. However, I won't have my time wasted, so here is the concept that I came up with. It's based loosely on the shirt that Charlton wore in 1998 after getting promotion to the Premier League. A little bit of Reebok shoulder taping, some pinstripes on the collar and cuffs, and white side panels all add into that notion of nostalgia. I've put a little subtle parquet style graphic over the main body of the shirt to give it a bit of texture, and stuck with just the basic Reebok logo without the text. So what do you think, Charlton fans? Would you have been happy with this as a Charlton shirt for the 25-26 season? Let me know. So there we have it. This Week in Football Shirts, episode 1, I suppose, is now complete. To finish this week's video, we have some brief footage of me finishing this past weekend's 5K race at Sandringham. Ciao for now, and see you all sometime next week. Bye-bye. I'm basically Mo Farah.